Thank you for tuning in to the Toledo Track and Trail Podcast, where co-hosts Matt Bucher and Marty Wheeler interview motocross and off-road racing and riding icons to capture their stories and experiences for you. So buckle up those helmets, grab a handful of throttle, and get ready to listen to the Toledo Track and Trail Podcast. Before we get started with tonight's podcast, please make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring that bell. That way you stay up to date with all of our new episodes.
I want to thank my family for all their hard work, our staff, and most importantly, I want to thank our fans and riders. Please visit mxexpress.net.
We also want to show some love for a local nonprofit off-road club, the Toledo Trail Riders, and visit their website at toledotrailriders.org.
Matt, aren't we forgetting one?
Yes, please visit paulschlegelmovie.com to see how you can help Paul get his stories told in a documentary film for the whole world to enjoy forever.
I think we're done.
Okay, Marty, let's get after it. Now, it's on to the episode.
In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us. This is episode number 6 of the Toledo Track and Trail Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Bucher, joined by my wise, enthusiastic, and brutally handsome co-host, Marty MX Express Wheeler.
With a new haircut.
New haircut.
New haircut.
Awesome.
Yes.
If you happen to be watching us on YouTube, please do not forget to hit the subscribe button, ring that bell, and give us a comment too. Also, you can find us on Facebook. Give us a like there as well. If you have any question, comments, show ideas, we'd love to hear from you. Please shoot us an email at toledotrackandtrail.com. Before we get to our special guest tonight, Marty, did you know that sometimes phone companies aren't what they look like on the cover? So why not trust a phone system that has your business in mind? That's why you should contact our sponsor, Align Phone Systems, for all your business phone service needs. Please look them up at alignvoice.com. That's alignvoice.com.
Right here.
Oh, you have it on the shirt.
I got a new shirt.
Well, now that's smart marketing. Perfect.
You got it.
Tonight we are honored to be joined by arguably the greatest motorcycle racing promoter of all time that not too many people know about. The professional motorcycle racing innovator of yesteryear that in many ways still lives on today. A man that is beloved by our region and our local area here. That man is none other than Toledo's own Mr. Paul Schlegel. Paul, welcome, sir, to the Toledo Track and Trail Podcast. How you doing?
Thank you, sir. Doing good.
Doing good?
For an old guy.
Nonsense.
We've had a great time.
Yeah.
We've already talked about history. We've talked about bikes, talked about the Silver Dome, and we've got a lot to talk about tonight.
We do. And, again, thank you, Paul, for joining us on episode 6 here. And I'm assuming this is probably your first podcast you've ever been on, Paul?
Yeah, it is, actually.
It is, yeah. Well, this is our 6th, so we're not too much ahead of you as far as experience level. So, but no, thanks for coming up, and you made it back from down in Florida safely. I assume you were kind of held up there for a while because of the virus, correct?
Yeah, well, we were held up because Reba's car had a problem with the little motor that makes the window or the mirrors go in and out when you turn the ignition on and shut it off. It was only $2,000 to fix, and it took them 3 weeks to do it.
Wow.
I was 3 weeks late getting out of Florida.
Apparently the car got the virus.
Yeah, something. Yeah, really.
Yeah. So but you made it back. You're here. You're with us now. Again, we appreciate you jumping in with us here. And for those that don't know, we really kind of want to start right from the get-go. This Honda sitting behind me is actually part of the paulschlegelmovie.com website. It's a donation actually from my dad, Paul Bucher. He's donating this Honda CR250 1979 to help raise money for the documentary for you. So
thank you.
Pretty generous. He hasn't asked for a receipt or anything yet, so I'm not sure what's going on with that. But anyway, so no, in all seriousness, it's very generous of him to do that. And so what you want to do is visit paulschlegelmovie.com. You can learn more about Paul here, and learn more about the documentary film, and enter your chance to win this Honda here. It's pretty sweet machine, that's for sure. So
it is.
Beautiful. And you got to sit on it and ride it, or rev it up a little bit. I should say ride it. We tried to get him to ride it, but he wasn't real interested in that.
I didn't want to be the star of the crash.
Yeah, you didn't. You didn't want to, have it go viral, right, Paul,
Right,
with you
absolutely.
crashing the Honda. But go ahead, Marty.
I'm excited to see the documentary because, I've had a chance to talk to Paul a couple different times about all the different stuff and, what it took to get there and stuff. There's no way tonight we'll even be able to touch this, even just scratch the surface of what he's done over his, many years and where he's been and who he's, what he had to do to make this thing happen. And we were just reading before it started. He was there. He was the start of motocross.
Yes. Let's just take a second and just run down, because we know, the attention span of most people is very low, including myself. So let's just run down real quick all the things you did, and then we're gonna unpack that a little bit, okay? So you can get your show notes there, Paul. But so the godfather really of National Motocross. We have a picture of Paul sitting around the boardroom table at the AMA talking about pro motocross and how to develop the series and the points and the classes and all that stuff. Loretta Lynn's, we're part of the club that hosted a national enduro in Toledo, Ohio. Most people don't even know that. They didn't have any clue that there was a national enduro here in Toledo, Ohio. You were part of that.
Oh, yeah.
Lima Half Mile. You own Delta Motorsports Park, which had was 6 national motocross races, correct?
Yeah, you're right, yeah.
Yes.
International.
Operating today.
Still operating today. You still own the track.
Yeah, still on.
I guess the last question, Paul, what haven't you done in motorcycling?
Well, I started out selling motorcycles in my front yard when I was a kid. I was about 15 years old. I was going to high school, and I lived on Bancroft Street, which is a big street in Toledo, and about a quarter mile up past Pennsylvania Road. And so I started that way, and I kind of fell into, I graduated from high school in 1956.
The Vilbus, right?
The Vilbus, yeah,
Yep.
right. And started college about 4 months later. And then 7 months after I graduated from high school, I had a motorcycle store next to, in the same block with the Harley Davidson store, selling German motorcycles, Zundaps, Ducatis. Well, Ducatis are Italian, but that's how that gets. And the way that I got into that is I was working for another guy that was selling radio parts. He was a ham dealer, ham radio parts and tubes and stuff to TV repair people and outside antennas and that sort of thing. And one of the other guys that worked there wanted to buy a bike, and because the boss and I used to ride our motorcycles to work. And this was in the summertime when I wasn't going to school. And so anyway, I took him over to our local BSA Triumph dealer, and there was a nice B33 BSA sitting in the window. And if you remember, BSAs were pretty. They had chrome,
Yep.
candy apple red and all that, really pretty bikes. And this is a 500 single. It sold for $800. And the fellow, he was older than me. I was only I was 17, I guess. And he was in his low 20s. And he didn't want to finance the bike. He wanted to give the dealer $200 down on an $800 bike and leave it in the window and give him $50 a week, and until it was paid for. Mm-hmm. And the dealer wouldn't do it.
That's kind of like a layaway, right?
Yeah. And the dealer said, well, somebody might come in and want to buy it. I said, well, BSA's got a warehouse full of them. Just sell it to him. He doesn't want that one. He wants one like it, So he didn't do it. So I thought, well, gee, there's opportunity here. If you can stay in business and do something that dumb, So a friend of mine and we started writing distributors to see if we could get a franchise. And the first one we got was Mako. And then the second one was Zundap and Ducati and that. And Bob Shantz was the roadman for Kelly Motor Company, who was a distributor in 4 states for Berliner, which was the importer for Zundaps and whatnot. And So they fixed us up and they floor planned us. I wasn't old enough to even, I was 18 and I wasn't old enough to get a loan at the bank or anything. You had to be 21 in those days. And but Kelly's financed me. They floor planned me and whatnot. And then about 15 months went by, and my partner was a gambler, and he liked to waste his money at gambling after he had a regular job at a glass company. And so anyway, we split our ways, and the whole thing was mine. I was still I was 19 by the time it became mine. I was
In what year is this, Paul? Approximately.
We opened up in 1957, January 1957.
Okay.
And by, like I say, 15 months later, early in 1958. In fact, I still might have been 18 actually. But anyway, it ended up being mine. And Bob Chance came in, and I told him what happened, and he said, "Well," I said, "I'm going to have to tell Marie Kelly, who was taking care of the money with Kelly Motor Company," and she said, "Well, he pays his bills, and some of our adult dealers don't pay at all very fast." She said, "We'll finance him," and she did. She kept me in the motorcycle business. So.
And these are BSAs.
No, they're just Zundaps, mostly Zundaps.
Oh, Sundays. Okay.
Yeah, and I didn't get Triumph. I never had BSA. I got Triumph. I knew the roadman for Triumph for a long time, and because he used to come to club meetings at the Travelers, because the Travelers was the BSA Triumph dealers club.
Okay.
As such,
Because I think you told me back in those days, most dealerships had a club affiliated with them, right?
So, and I was taking people out. The Travelers had a nice little short track in front of their clubhouse, and I'd take people out and teach them how to ride on it. And this BSA Triumph dealer just blew up. I was using the club to make money. Well, so was he, because the first time I rode Triumph was out there in one of his, Yeah. So anyway, Mercer wouldn't give me Triumph until I was 21. They were more strict than Marie Kelly was. So when I turned 21, I got Triumph.
You had a beer and a Triumph.
Yeah.
Well, at that time, you could drink at 18, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you could drink 3-2 beer, which I didn't do anyway. But they had a guy, one of our customers said that they take the 3-2 and the 7% out of the same vat. So it was just, but they put a red cap on the 3-2 beer. So anyway, but then when I was 21, I had Triumph during the heydays of Triumph, the 60s.
Well, what we'll do is I will throw in a picture of you, because I have a picture of you must be in your dealership or at maybe a dealer meeting or something with the Triumph sign in the back,
and two of us sitting on the bike. On the two bikes. Yeah, well, that was my service manager, and I was 21 there, and he was my service manager.
So you owned a motorcycle dealership since you were really 18 years old.
Yeah.
Wow.
And none of my family was in the motorcycle business.
You just had a passion. When did the passion kick in? When did you say,
"Well, I want to ride"? I think you got a picture of me on a Whizzer, and I was 12 years old. So
yes, we'll throw that one in there too.
Yeah. So how many brands did you finally have?
Different ones that I sold?
Yep.
Well, I had Triumph, I had Norton, I had Yamaha, I had Husqvarna, I had Penton, I had BMW. I had Matchless. I had some Matchlesses too, but they were distributed by Berliner. But that's.
Yeah, you said you had Kawasaki.
No, I didn't have Kawasaki.
You didn't have Kawasaki. You did a series with Kawasaki.
Yeah. We had the Kawasaki Cup when they started the American Indoor Championship Series. That was before Supercross. It was what they did in the wintertime. They had indoor short tracks at the Madison Square Garden. And they had them at the Cow Palace out west and different Tarrant County. I think that's in Texas. And so they were going to put together a series, and I had indoor short tracks at the Toledo Sports Arena, which is a little 5,000 seat hockey arena. minor league hockey, and I'd had them races there during the winter, and as a dealer, you know, I had new bikes sitting in the lobby and girls sitting on them and all that kind of stuff, you know, and so when the word was out that they were going to start a series, I went to the meeting and at the AMA, and I wanted to get one for Toledo, and my whole thing getting into promotion was to bring big events to Toledo, because Toledo, as you guys know, is kind of a stepsister in Ohio.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, so I wanted to bring some big events there, and I mean, I knew a lot of places that had big events, you know, and I wanted to bring them to Toledo. So it ended up bringing 15 of them to Toledo, a half a dozen national enduros, and a half a dozen international and national motocrosses after we got that started. And like you say, there's the picture in the 1970 October AMA magazine that
Yeah, that's you. I know I'll try to throw a picture up for the audience on
at
YouTube.
That meeting, there was Ward Robinson was Unadilla, and Chuck Clayton, who was Cycle News, and he had one in Atlanta, and me and Bruce Cox from California, and anyway, in the story in the AMA magazine, this is Trans Am of the birth of a national sport. It says, until recently, American motocross has been, in a sense, in its embryonic stage. The sport was first introduced to America by Swedish motocross ace Torsten Hallman in 1967. It immediately caught the eye, the thrill-seeking spirit of the American public. And then the last line in the story says, truly, by the end of November, racers and fans alike will have witnessed the birth of motocross in America.
So we got to unpack that a little bit, because this is...
That's where I was going.
Yes.
18, you got a dealership.
Yes.
When did you start promoting?
Yeah. How old were you?
Well, actually, we when I had the dealership, well, before I had the dealership, actually, when I was just a road rider, I had a 74 Harley when I was 15 years old. I used to caddy, and I used to save my money, and I had a 6-year-old 74, I had a 47 74 in 1953, and other kids were riding 165s or something, and I had a 74. So anyway, I joined the Travelers when I was 16, when I actually had a driver's license, and it was a competition club, so I was in on, you know, the organization of events at the Travelers. They had a short track, they had a scrambles track in the back, and they put on a big, it wasn't a national enduro, but it was national in scope, because it was in the wintertime, and everybody in the world from around the nearby states came and rode it. Guys like Dick Clamforth and John Penton and all them guys, all those guys would come and ride this thing in the wintertime. And
This was an enduro?
Yeah, it was enduro.
Okay.
And they call it the snow run, and it was. It was the second.
That's what I was just thinking.
Yeah, it was the second Sunday in January every year.
Oh my gosh! So nice and warm.
Yeah, nice and warm, beautiful. Palm trees blowing in the.
Yeah.
So anyway, I was involved with that, and then when I started when we started a new club, because like I said, every dealer had a club. So we started a new club called the Challengers, and we ran half-mile races at Heinz Farm, where you guys had an event there. There was a big, nice half-mile out there, and we ran half-mile races there. So I was in on that, and then by 1970 is when we started doing. Well, I wanted to build a racetrack, and it wasn't anything real ridiculous, but as far as expense, but it was going to be a nice one. It was going to have flush toilets and concession stands and grandstands, you know. So anyway, we first tried to do it just over the state line in Michigan, and I was double crossed by the lawyer I had up there. I had to get a Michigan lawyer, and at that time, well, that was 1968, I guess it was, and so I was 30 years old, I guess, yeah. And so anyway, they wouldn't give me a building permit to build these buildings and put up stands and whatnot. So the club and I, we just decided it was beautiful clay, and it was flat ground and it was clay.
Yeah, you told me up like in Luna Pier, right?
Yeah, it was in Luna Pier.
Okay.
And so we just laid out a track, and we let all the neighbors in for free, and we showed them, it was just a bunch of parents with their kids and all that, typical amateur race. And but they sent me a letter that I was under arrest for doing it. and we had the first trial we had was over a gas station on Telegraph Road in Erie, Michigan. And
you had a trial at a gas station?
yeah, it was a JP's office upstairs over the gas station.
Was the attendant the judge or what? It's like,
Probably.
Here's your 87 octane, guilty.
That's what it boiled down to. So anyway, then I said, well, okay, take it to the regular court in Monroe, So supposedly he did that, and I don't think they ever made a record of it, because the judge found me guilty there too. And so I said, well, take it to the Michigan Supreme Court, because I was bound and determined we were going to do it there. Because I wanted to build a short track with a little TT thing in the middle, like Ascot in California. And but it's a good thing that they did that, because he let the time lapse. It was too late to. By the time I found out about it, it was too late to appeal. So
your attorney did.
Yeah, okay. He was a crook. I mean, he had been the prosecutor in the county.
Okay.
And I thought, well, that's a good deal. I was naive enough to think that he'd do a job for me.
Right.
Well, he didn't. So anyway, I still own that property. It's a nice piece of property. Got 1,000 foot of frontage.
You can't ride a motorcycle there or race, right?
Without getting arrested.
You can grow soybeans.
Let's try it again, Paul, for old time's sake.
Yeah. So anyway, I started looking for another place, and I found Delta, and Delta was territory. The land was good for motocross. It had a hill in it and all that kind of stuff, and so we could more have motocross, and we could have a TT scramble track too, which we did. But anyway, the reason I wanted to do this is the various clubs, that somebody would give them some property and they'd run races on it, and then the property get developed and the club would get thrown out, and they'd go down the road further and further and further, and then, they get out further. And I wanted to have one that's not, was going to be motorcycle. And so we built Delta Motorsport Park. It had concessions, it had flush toilets.
And you bought Delta in what year?
1969.
Okay.
And in the 1970s when we started this deal to get, and I was on the AMA Congress, and I was able to get the club a national. We'd had an enduro. We had a Fallen Timbers enduro, but in 1970 it became a national. And then they had this meeting with the outdoor nationals, the Trans Am's and whatnot. And I went to that, and I got those for 6 years. And then after that was over with, the AMA really didn't want to give us the national down there. Even the last year that we were there was 1976. We had an outdoor national. We had the 125, and we had sidecars, which that was fun too. It was a real nice deal. And Bob Hanna won the first national at Delta, one of his first nationals that he won. And Marty Smith won in 1975.
Yep.
And Hanna won in 1976. And the way he won, actually, Marty beat him in the first moto. And Marty got into a lapper and went down in the second moto toward the end of it. And Hanna got by him, and Hanna won the second moto, which that made him the winner overall, no matter what Marty did. But Marty ended up getting fourth in that second moto, and I think he was second overall. And then the same year, Marty won the Supercross at the Silverdome.
Okay.
So he'd won 3 events that I'd put on in about a year span, actually.
There's a picture that we used on a poster for the film with the first turn at Delta there. I don't know if you saw that, Marty, or not, but I'll put it on the podcast for the YouTube subscribers to view. But there's a picture. I don't know if you I'm sure you had to have seen this photo. It's a first turn. Jeff Greenberg is in like top four in the whole shot, and he's going down. But there's Marty on the outside, and I think Hannah's on the inside. You know, just it's really a neat
Good
photo.
picture. Yeah. Well, yeah, we had stands for 2,000 people out there, and after we went to the Silverdome, which has 80,500 seats, and we were doing 2 days for years, and two complete races. You know,
Right.
purse and sanction fees and all that. It was double. But anyway, Marty won Marty won the first one, and we had every race that I did. This is something that the AMA did not want. Mike Dupree, who was the motocross czar at the time, they didn't want amateurs riding on the same track with pros. I mean, not with them, but on the same track later on. Yeah, period.
Right.
Yeah. And so I told, well, baloney, we're going to have amateurs, you know. So at Delta, it started out that way. We had amateurs on Saturday. We had the international and national pro race on Sunday, and at the Silverdome, we had the first race at the Silverdome. We had 22 amateurs, 250 Class A amateur riders from Michigan, and we ran 2 motos with them. But the second year, we had a series where you qualified to go there, and if you rode one of the races, you qualified basically.
Okay.
But some of them, but we did keep series points and everything, and gave out awards at the Silverdome for the series. And but everybody wanted to ride the Silverdome. Well, it ended up after the Sunday race, we had 1,345 amateur riders up the tunnel and around the building.
Still not get how many?
Yeah.
1,345.
It's hard to get 130.
130, right? Yeah.
Now, so it's wow.
That's mind-boggling.
That's a crowd. I mean, that's
Yeah.
around now is happening. If you get 1,300 people, riders and spectators is a lot of
It's
people.
huge. Yeah.
It's huge.
We flagged the last race off at 4:05 in the morning.
Oh my gosh.
We started at 6.
Wow. And so, how many races did you do in the Silverdome?
47. Well, 47 motocrosses and 2 TTs and a short track.
And that spanned how many years?
From 1970 to 2005.
Wow.
And we would, excuse me, I said that wrong. 1976 to 2005, that was 30 years.
So we could literally probably do, well, that's why we're doing film. I mean, we have to get this stuff on film because we could probably take up, I think, you know, we talked about it earlier, we joked behind your back, Paul, that we could take you from episode 6, 7, 8, 9, but honest to goodness, you have so much to offer the audience and the riding community. We could probably do 3 or 4 podcasts just with you. But my curiosity is I keep looking at that picture. Again, I'll throw it up on the screen. So let's jump back a little bit. So you're in 1969, you buy Delta. In 1970 is the birth of pro motocross, right?
Yeah.
And you're on the AMA Congress.
Yeah.
How do you get, because it's not just Congress, was it just the AMA Congress that was developing the pro motocross, or was there a special collection of individuals?
No, it was the staff.
The staff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was the staff.
But you helped guide them on that, is that correct?
Well, I was there to get to get the event, and we did. You know, there was 8 of us that there was eight nationals first Trans Am deal, and then for years then we had that, and then we had to we got into we got into the Silverdome in
76, right?
76, right?
76.
1976, we got in the Silverdome. And then the AMA didn't want to, I mean, other promoters were pretty jealous. They wanted to get in on it. And I didn't go around waving the flag that I was even doing it,
Right.
but I was. And so they wanted to pass the nationals around, and since we had 2 Supercross races, well, that's what happened, But we ran the Silverdome then right up to the last event at the Silverdome, which was 2005. And they wanted me to go to, my partners wanted me to go to Ford Field. And I had 100 dealers selling tickets.
Yeah.
And all over Ohio and Michigan. And I did not want to go to downtown Detroit.
Yeah.
It's just, you got to go through a war zone to get there.
Yeah.
And,
The stadium's beautiful.
yeah, but
It's awesome, but yeah.
Yeah.
I miss Pontiac.
oh yeah, Pontiac was just, Pontiac was a happening. You could sit anywhere and move around, and they weren't reserved seats or anything, and there was plenty of parking, and it was safe, Downtown Detroit, I've got a friend of mine, his father started the Motorsports Hall of Fame, and he went to 2 baseball games down there. The football stadium and the baseball stadium were right together, and he had his car stolen both years. So,
Yeah, we've been able to go a couple times to the Supercross, in Detroit.
Right.
Like you said, you go in there and when you can leave, you're leaving it fairly late, and you're in a bad section of town.
yeah, and they never did get a crowd there. And racing people are not city people,
Right.
and they're country people. And the country people of Michigan do not want to go downtown Detroit.
Yeah.
No.
Period.
No,
I mean,
you're right.
that's it.
So, was this the one that this was grouped in with Unadilla? Was the Trans Am races the ones with Unadilla?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, which is really, for me, I'm a Pennsylvania boy, and Unadilla was not right down the road. But when you look at that, it's amazing to me. I probably at some point in time looked at that, but being you look at all these places that ran,
Yeah.
and here you have Toledo, you have Delta, Ohio,
Yeah.
with Unadilla and stuff like that, and I think we talked about, we believe that they're the only 2 tracks still left out of that.
Still in
group,
business,
correct?
yeah.
Still in
Yeah.
business.
Which
Delta left.
is sad.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
terribly sad. And then, but it's kind of the nature of the beast, I think, with the racing. But correct me if I'm wrong, Paul, but Delta Motorsports Park in Delta, Ohio is the 3rd longest continuous operating motocross track in America. Is that correct?
I would say so. I don't know any of it any longer. Actually.
I thought you were
Yeah.
in the top
Might
3.
be the second. Us and Unadilla, because we're what we're talking about. Marion County International Raceway is still in business, but it's a drag strip.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
They just had motocross 1 year, I think, or maybe a couple years, but it's a drag strip. But in fact, it was funny. I was at their race, and I heard one of the Honda guys. We went in the back. It wasn't like you didn't go past the drag strip and all that to where you really saw that it was, a growing business. He kind of went in the back, and I heard one of the Honda guys say, "This doesn't look like an international raceway to me."
Well, that guy should have called a friend. He should have used voice.com for all his business needs, right, Marty?
That's right.
We got to plug the sponsor. We're at the halfway point here, so.
We want to pause a minute and thank our show sponsor Align for their support. Align is a cloud-based voice-over internet phone system that makes your business more efficient and easier to manage. Align's voice-over internet phone system offers more features, is easier to set up, offers better customer service, and is more cost-effective over old and outdated landline systems of the past. Find them at alignvoice.com. That's alignvoice.com for all your business phone system needs.
In 1976, you were a part of, go ahead and set her down. You were a part of 6 professional motorcycle racing events, according to your
Yeah, actually, 76 we had seven nationals.
Oh, I was off by one. I'm sorry,
I was off
Paul.
by one.
But,
82 we had 6, and 88 we had 5, and in 88 I decided if you're in the motorcycle business, you never get a chance to ride a motorcycle as much as you want to.
yes.
And in 88 I was 50 years old, and I gave Loretta Lynn's and Lima, which is Ohio National, to people working for me. And I kept the Silver Dome, and because the Silver Dome was over by March, April at the most, and so I could go ride my motorcycle, and I did. I went to Alaska a couple times, and I took my grandson coast to coast on a bike and all that kind of stuff. We went to Sturgis, and we went to, well, in fact, I've ridden a motorcycle in every state in the Union, including Alaska and Hawaii. So.
Yeah, I remember. You've for those that don't know, Paul has a kind of I guess, an autobiography that you kind of typed up, and I've read it. It's very nice, and that was one of the key points in there that you were really proud that you were able to take that time, because I've noticed in the trail advocacy world, again, being part of the club, most trail advocates that are in a leadership role, they don't ride hardly. They're so busy doing this and that.
Right, absolutely.
And I often wonder that when I kind of got into it. I'm like, why doesn't Bill ride, or Lou, or Tom, or as much? And then now it's like, oh yeah, Del, you're so busy doing other stuff that you didn't even think would develop into something else, but it has. But so in that 1976, this is just what baffles me about you, Paul, and it's such admiration for what you did, because Marty and I are part of the Toledo Trail Riders, and we know behind the scenes how much work it is just to put on a District 14 hare scramble, and you put on 7 national pro level events in 1 year.
Yeah.
And you've got like 4 times the amount of hair that I have, and I'm not sure it should be, I mean, you should be all stressed out, and you're smiling talking about motorcycles.
I'm running a little practice track, a couple days a week for a few hours, and I'm losing my hair.
Yeah, it's just how did you, when you were organizing these things, these races, were you the guy behind the scenes? Were you a good delegator, or how were you managing with keeping your cool and organization?
In quite a few of the events, I had a partner.
Okay.
Pace Management was a partner in the Supercrosses, and I had a lot of help from the Glass City Motorcycle Club and the Flying Horsemen in Michigan, and I was vice president of District 14, and I was a congressman for District 12, which is Ohio. District 14 is Michigan, as you know, and I was on the AMA board for 15 years. I mean, you just have to be involved, what it boils down to. I mean, I knew John Davison and John Harley, but Gene Trobaugh and all the imported guys and whatnot by first name basis from being on the board, and that helped, and I had a lot of good people helping. I mean, you can't do it all by yourself, that's for sure. And I had a lot of good people. Dave McCarthy worked for me for a long time. I ended up giving Dave and Mary my half of Loretta's, and I had 2/3 of Lima. I gave 1/3 of it to the guy from the Lima Motorcycle Club, Dean Gallup, who is a barber down there, and he's a kind of a mover and shaker in the Lima Motorcycle Club. And that way I went in there with a national, and I gave them quite a bit of the concessions and whatnot, and so they made as much money off that national as they did when they had their own little 4-star race there, and whatnot. And it was the way we got into Lima it was the best racetrack in Ohio. Really the best one was Toledo Raceway Park.
Yeah.
But
I never got a chance to get down there to see that. But
it was beautiful. Yeah, and it was. We'd still be going there, except they got burned down in 1976, and we had a schedule for 1977 already, and the promoter at Louisville Downs called me up and said, if you want to run your race, why, you could use Louisville Downs. So we went to Louisville Downs and ran then. And but later on, one of the other real accomplishments that we did in the dirt track end of things was Charity Newsies used to be the big race in Ohio. It was at the State Fairgrounds in Columbus. And it was kind of taken over by the outlaw types, And I know one of the dealers, I was also president of the Dealer Association for the first 4 years of the Ohio Motorcycle Dealer Association. One of the dealers, the Honda dealer in Tiffin, he was on the street outside the fairgrounds there, going to the race, and he had his wife and kids with him, and there was in the vehicle ahead of him was two naked women dancing in the bed of a pickup truck.
We won't put that picture in.
Yeah, I didn't get that picture.
Yeah, no, well, yeah, probably we'll keep that one in the archives,
That's right.
But that's what was going on at the fairgrounds, and it got so bad, the Old Newsboys Association was a big charity in Columbus, and they made a lot of money off that event. And the AMA is headquartered in Columbus, and it was so embarrassing for both of them that they quit doing it.
Yeah.
And I grabbed the date, and we took it to Smoky Mountain Raceway in Knoxville for 3 years, and then I took a bunch of the seats from Lima, from Delta, and took them to Lima, and bought some seats, so we got enough seats to pay for having a national there, and we brought the national back to Ohio. But and we ran it at night, and we didn't allow any of this outlaw stuff to go on,
Yeah.
And it made it's still a really nice event right now. Jared Meese owns it now. I gave it to McCarthy's, and they sold out to the rest of the race to Dean Gallup, and then Dean Gallup, in turn, a few years later, sold it to Jared Meese, who was the national dirt track champion the last couple of years.
Well, you got to get, if you want, butts in the seat, if you will, you got to, I had a napkin that somebody gave me one time, and it said, if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy.
Yeah.
And, it's like, if you want to bring in people, you got to bring the moms, which then bring the kids. And the outlaw stuff just doesn't mix, doesn't mix. So I've never really understood. That's a whole, if people want to go do that kind of stuff, more power to them. I'm not into that, but.
Well, not very many people are, but
no.
But the ones that are, it's like these riots they're having now. It's not very. It's a small percentage of the population.
It is, yeah.
But they burn down motorcycles, they burn down businesses and whatnot. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I live about 45 minutes from Watkins Glen, Raceway, and back when they lost the Grand Prix stuff, that kind of stuff, it sort of went really downhill, and that's what happened to Watkins Glen. Watkins Glen turned into a pretty rough place to be, and so they lost all the really good racing they had, and finally Corning Incorporated bought it, and they went in and cleaned up and put nice bathrooms in and tried to bring the family back in. And which changed the NASCAR, which is still a NASCAR track, and changed that. But with that being said, we came from Pennsylvania. We came here. I came here in 2000 and commuted for about a year. Then my family came here in 2001, and it wasn't very long after that. AJ and Andrew decided, they were starting to get into bikes and stuff like that, and so they got bikes and rode a little bit in our backyard, and then started in Delta, and even then, I think we got a friend here, bud. Right?
Yeah.
I don't ever remember that being a rowdy place.
Delta?
Yeah,
no.
Exactly.
No, it never was. Yeah.
It was always, when we went there, the parking lot was packed. There was trailers and campers and family, the parents and kids, and it's got a nice little, kids track, and it was always a good batch of kids, and so, when we had an opportunity to take over, the zero gravity deal, we thought, man, the kids, the group of kids we watched, the families at Delta, that's what we sort of wanted to sort of if you want to say, Emily, Delton and the kids, because that's where we really wanted, because our kids were growing, getting grown up. I have grandkids and stuff like that, and we're thinking, that's the kind of, we want that nice group like that.
Right.
Well, that's what there is here in this,
Yeah.
in this part of the country.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's not rowdies and whatnot.
And my kids started riding in Delta. They started riding, right after, right around high school. The kids, my sons got into that and started riding and rode there. We don't get to ride there as much anymore because now our schedules are so packed. Now they got real jobs, so now they got to work. So
funny how that works.
They still get to go. They still do. They still sneak out over there. We just rotate. We're rotating some of our days that we're practicing now, so they can actually get up and race a little bit. But we've been going with Barry Hart over there. We we've been in and out there for a lot of years. Well, since 2000. I think the kids got in about 2003. I think is when they finally started going. They decided, hey, I had enough of the pasture and running through all the horse stuff, and decided, hey, let's go try to do it. So we went to Delta, and they learned it, and we went there Saturday night. The family did. We'd go there and have a hot dog and sit there and watch the kids race and that kind of stuff. So it's a great deal. Which is, like I said, it just amazes me that everybody thinks of Unadilla, because everybody knows Unadilla, but when you say Toledo, they don't think about that. They don't think about it. That's why I say it's so important to say, hey, listen, guys, this is what's happened.
Yeah, people don't have a clue that there was national motocross in this town, or a national enduro, or 45 minutes away a national flat track.
Yeah.
And again, Paul, you had a hand in all that, which is just amazing.
And I had good partners too. Pace Management was an excellent partner. I knew the local situation and the dealers and could sell tickets and all that sort of thing, and put up posters and have an amateur race that the Michigan Motorcycle Dealer Association was involved with, and they knew the administrative for big buildings. Although it was a funny story is when they built the Silver Dome, there was going to be an 18% tax. Ticket tax, they called it. And then the regular rent was 18% on top of that. And generally, the percentage to the building of an event is usually 12%. But theirs was 18. And I thought, well, 18, that's okay. But that second 18 was a killer, and I'm waiting for, we had a big meeting around the conference room table, and all that, and I'm just wringing my hands waiting for Alan Becker, who was the head of Pace Management in Houston. When they hit him with, I knew it was there. I didn't know if he did or not. When they hit him with that second 18%, I was just waiting for him to jump right up and get rid of that in a hurry, Well, I about fell under the table when he said, "Well, that's no hill for a climber." So he found out what a hill it was. We lost $100,000 on the TT and short track.
Oh boy!
And we wouldn't have, if it had been 12% or 18% even,
Yeah.
But anyway, we did, and he saw how much of a hill for a climber that really was, and then that wasn't there the next year, and we started, having a good crowd. But it was scary that first year.
You talk about scary. Like I said, we've been running a track, our little practice track for the last 5 years, and so we know what costs are. What we have is costs and stuff. But you shared with me, I think, a couple of years ago when you was out at the track, you showed me what the costs were to put it on the Silver Dome.
Oh yeah.
You just don't think about security,
right?
Or cleaning up before and cleaning up after.
And it's thousands of dollars.
Yeah. And I'm looking at going, wow.
Lights. Do they bill you for the utilities? Can they do that?
You pay for everybody that's in there and everything that happens. Yep. You pay for the guy that's down taking care of the furnace. Everybody.
Everything.
If they're in that building and they work for the building,
you're paying for it.
That's right.
He showed me some of the numbers, and I'm looking at, I wouldn't have thought about security, but when you're paying, $100,000 or whatever it was with security, that's your security, and you gotta sell a lot of tickets for that. A lot of racers,
I hope to tell you. Yeah.
I raced that race, not the pro race, but the amateur Sunday race. Yeah. I get out there, I'm like, where's all the trees? I need some trees here, but
You got to hit one once
you
in a
got to
while.
hit one once in a while. Yeah,
Brush her off a little
you
bit.
got to feel good about yourself and hit one. But no, it's me and my buddies used to go up there, and kind of a Silverdome story. But we'd go up there and Friday night and get a hotel room, and back before any of us had wives, and funny how that stopped. But anyway, I won't go any further with that. But you got to grow up a little bit, I guess, in life. But no, we would go up there and get a hotel room and then go watch the race. And man, it was those were really fun times. And you shared with me, Paul, a story about the Silverdome that I think the audience would like to hear. Now, when they were building it, you told me you stopped in and marched right in the construction trailer and started kind of pitching ideas to them. Is that correct?
Yeah. It was they were pushing dirt around, and I just had that sellout at Cobo. And
in Detroit, Cobo Hall in Detroit.
Yeah, in Detroit.
Okay.
And they knew it, and if they didn't know it, I told them, and so I got the rights to put on the races, and later on, Alan Becker went up there, and he wanted to put on races there, and the AMA which was a smart move on all our parts. The AMA got us together as partners.
Yeah.
And that they were really good partners. And another good partner I had was the Coombses.
Coombs, yeah.
I mean, I found Loretta Lynn's, and the way I found it was they had I don't know if you know Craig Vetter. You know who Craig Vetter is?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. He had the Vetter fairings and all that, and he had a road rally there for street riders and whatnot, and then the BMW Owners Association, they had a rally there, and I knew that, and AMA had national motocrosses, but they were going around to clubs, and they were bad. Len Kukler, who was on loan from NASCAR, he had been at the AMA for 12 years, and then he went to NASCAR for several years, and then toward the end, the AMA was financially in a mess, and the France family loaned Len Kukler back he wanted to retire in 3 years, so NASCAR loaned him to the AMA, and he straightened out the AMA in a big way. But a couple of promoters out in California started what they call the NMA, National Motorcycle Association, and they were putting on a really good national at Ponca City, Oklahoma.
For amateurs.
For amateurs, yeah.
Okay.
And and they had pro races. They had pro nationals in California, but they was fighting the AMA in this amateur thing. And Dave Coombs and I, we wanted to get one back here, but all the big time pro riders in Supercross and motocross were Californians because of what they were doing, actually. And if you were from Virginia or Texas or whatever, you didn't stand a chance of getting the notice from the companies in California, So anyway, we decided we wanted to bring one back east and have it on a track that nobody rode. That wasn't their favorite racetrack, or they were, a hometown kid winning, all that. So we were looking, and I heard about Loretta Lynn's ranch with the Vetter thing and the BMW rally, and I thought, well, I'm gonna call them and talk to them and see if they're interested in having a motocross for a week. And they said, well, they'd like to talk about it. So Dave McCarthy and we went right down there. And
marched right up to Loretta Lynn's house.
Yeah, actually we did.
Yeah.
We're not surprised.
Yeah. And anyway.
Did she answer the door?
No, but her husband did, Mooney.
Mooney.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you ever saw Mooney, well, he was on. Yeah, he used to. Yeah, he used to be on that Pillsbury ad that she had. But anyway, we talked to Mooney and we made a deal and everything, and So I went back home and we had a deal done. And but Lynn Kukler, he liked me. We were, I was on the board and he was the CEO and whatnot, and we got along really great. And he had to write an apology letter to everybody that rode the AMA Youth National because it was so messed up. And boy, I mean, that went against the grain with him in a hurry. But anyway, so we showed up. Well, I called Dave Coombs, and I told him.
Now Dave was a promoter.
Yeah,
at that time too.
Big Dave.
Now, was it off-road stuff or Supercross?
No, he had a national at Mount Morris.
Oh, okay.
That was his national at Mount Morris.
Okay.
I was Delta and he was Mount Morris, and also he had a big amateur event that he called the Blackwater.
Oh yeah.
And it was over in West Virginia.
The GNCC.
It was that type of thing.
Gnarly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Blackwater 100.
Yeah.
Yep.
So anyway, I called him up and I said, Dave, you will not believe what I just did. And he was on his way to Ponca City. He was loading up right then with the kids and taking them to Ponca City to race. And so anyway, I said, you will not believe what I just did. And I told him, I said, I got us a deal at Loretta Lynn's Ranch. And so he says, well, I'm going to Ponca City now. On the way back, I'll stop. And I said, there's a good place to put the National. It's really beautiful. It's behind the country store. You've been there, you know where the country store is?
Yep.
There's a ravine behind it.
Yeah.
And I thought, boy, we'll put the race down in that ravine and everybody could stand around the outside and it'd be great. It'd be like being in the grandstand or something,
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, he went and he looked at it and whatnot. And he called me up and he said, well, it's great. He says, but we can't put it in that ravine. It's all rocks. So he put the racetrack down there where it is, where it always has been, down by the river and whatnot.
Pasture.
The flat. And people were telling him at the time, I remember somebody telling me, you found the only flat piece of ground in Tennessee,
Well, it's a pretty good, because we moved back from Arizona. The kids were born in Arizona. We moved back to Pennsylvania where I grew up. And so we got back, and our first summer vacation, my mom, my dad, and my wife, and my 4 kids went to Loretta Lynn's.
Really?
We spent the week there and went to Loretta Lynn's and watched the racing the whole week. And back then, Lori and I was sort of a fan of Mercedes Gonzalez.
Right.
And she was there.
Okay.
She was doing a bit of she was at that point. I don't know if she was racing a whole lot at that time. I think she was coming to the end of that. But we got to see her, which was pretty cool because we sort of, we were watching. That was Lori's favorite, girl rider.
One of the best races I ever saw was between Mercedes Gonzalez and Lisa Aiken at Loretta's.
Oh wow!
I went out and stand alongside.
Lisa was from Michigan, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she was racing Delta quite a bit. And anyway, I was standing alongside her dad, Drex, and he looked over at me. She's fun to watch, isn't she? I said, yeah, she sure is. I mean, it was the damnest race you ever saw. You didn't know who was going to come around the corner first. I mean,
Wow.
It was really a good race. Mercedes was good. I mean, and Lisa was good. So yeah.
Well, I have like about 300 questions.
That's it?
Of Delta. But I think what we should do though is let that go to the documentary.
Yes.
Because that's where you'll get all of it. Because we could spend another 4 or 5 hours here.
Oh, well.
I mean, because it's just so neat about Delta.
Yes.
But and then I was going to say, we had to talk about Loretta's.
Yes, we had to bring that up.
It's a huge deal for the amateur world. And we've been fortunate the last couple of years to have half a dozen to a dozen young kids that's been riding our track.
Yes.
Qualify to go to Loretta's, and it's always cool because we get text messages the whole week back and forth how we're doing, or little short videos and stuff. So for us, it's pretty cool for us to see kids that come and ride there.
Do the kids that ride at MX Express, do they even have an understanding that a gentleman within 20 minutes of their homes even started the thing?
They don't. They know their goal is to go to Loretta's. And I'm sure these young kids just think it just sort of magically appeared.
Right?
And so that's what's so cool about getting into the documentary, to where you can see, hey, you've been racing. I can tell you that the kids that race at Delta, even the young ones that's now teenagers or in their 20s. I can tell you they still don't know the history of Delta.
Yeah.
You know, now you got a lot of the guys, you know, older guys is out there, and you can tell you know, who's this and who's that, and, you know, who they saw at the races and the nationals and stuff. But, you know, if you're in your 20s, maybe even your 30s, maybe, I don't know, I may be pushing it there, I don't know that they know what happened and how it got there and who promoted it and how it happened, you know, to be able to get that kind of a track here locally.
Well, it's, you know, I think it's vital that we get this done for you, Paul, because, you know, when you were speaking at, you know, the Hare Scramble, the Fallen Timbers Classic 3, which we won Track of the Year for. You knew that,
I know
right?
you did, yeah.
So, which was cool. We must have had your aura kind of, you know, filtered out into the woods there, but, you know, as successful as you are, but, and have been, but, you know, watching you stand there talking to the, you know, to the riders and sharing your stories, it just like, literally just like the light bulb went off, and I went, we got to do this for Paul, because, you probably are arguably the greatest, you know, motorcycle racing promoter, innovator of all time. And you were not a rah-rah guy, and, and you're still not a rah-rah guy, but let us do the rah-rah for you and document it, because we're all real proud of you. I mean, Toledo, Ohio, Northwest Ohio, Southeast Michigan is, when you tell these kids, yeah, Paul Schlegel founded Loretta Lynn's, they're like, what? You know what? And I never knew that as a kid growing up until probably a few years ago.
Yeah.
And it'll blow your mind and all. And then you start adding all the other stuff that you've done. And it's like, you know what? This is a perfect opportunity to do a documentary. And so this Honda, once again, is going to be donated to help raise funds. If, you know, at this point in time in the podcast, you know, because we're taping it, you'll be able to go to paulschlegelmovie.com, and the second thing you see down on the page, you'll see a link to take take you to the raffle site for the Honda. And you can also text down there. I'll put the flyer up on the page there, but you can text the raffle bike to that certain number. I apologize, I don't know the number off the top of my head, but you can text that. It'll take you right there too, so you can buy entries. Again, all the funds all the tickets that'll be sold will be used to you know, help fund the movie. So
6 hour movie.
yes, 6 hours at least.
If we could get all this stuff in 6 hours.
Yes.
Here's what I really want. How many total races have you put on?
Well, I put on 99 national races. And a lot of, you know, I mean, the club and I and whatnot, we put on a lot of races at Delta that weren't national. I mean, every week, you know, whatnot.
The amateur stuff?
Yeah, the amateur stuff. A lot of
the amateur stuff you did.
Another national that we started was the half mile amateur national, and that was a neat event to get started. There was at Kenton, Ohio. They got a nice half mile down there, and every year they had a pro race. So I went to Lynn Kukler again, and he gave me the rights to do it. As we put on the amateur, they didn't want to get the powers that be down there. The amateur people didn't want to get amateurs on a half mile. They had a TT national and a short track national. They had a 2-race series like, and I talked to Lynn and I said, you know, we get a half mile and I can get some stuff from Champion Spark Plug and all that. And we'll make it a 3-race deal. And so they had this amateur, this small professional race, actually. I mean, it drew all the good half milers around here, which is a lot of them, you know, at that time especially. And we ran the heats and semis and everything during the day. And then at night, we ran the pro race program, and interspersed with that, we had the finals for the national half mile, so the amateur national half mile. So the kids got to race on the same track that the pro riders rode in. I mean, that was really a big event. We had that for several years.
Wow.
And that's another one of those things that other promoters wanted to get in on. I mean, I think they thought it was a lot of money, you know,
Right.
and it wasn't. But it was a good event, and the kids liked it. I mean, the kids coming from Texas and all over the place, you know. And but anyway, they finally started passing it around, and a friend of mine, actually, Dick Ranny from Michigan, he was for passing it around. I mean, he knew I had all kinds of races, and we didn't really, it wasn't a big deal, and it wasn't a big money maker, So he was for passing around. After they ran 2 or 3 of them, why, he came back to me and said, I made a mistake. Because they got promoters in it. I had the good water trucks there and the track prep people that knew what they were doing. And these other people that got it after that, I mean, they didn't have the proper stuff and whatnot. It ended up the AMA taking it back and running with the other 2. And I don't think, well, they might have had one a year or so ago at I think Marion down here in Ohio. They built a racetrack with 3 different kinds of tracks on it, and good club, Triangle, and I think they had one that they had all 3 of them there. But basically, it took the AMA to run it because these other little promoters, they just didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely tough to know the niches and how to make it work and that kind of stuff. So pretty impressive. 100 national races, 99.
You know what we should do?
The 100th one, I won one. I won the National Time Road Runner.
Did you?
In Michigan, yeah. I had the next one won the next year, and but I made a wrong turn, and I got 6 minutes behind. and I made it back up, but I ran out of gas. I was riding at 250.
Oh.
Yeah, I was passing on double yellow lines and all kinds of stuff, just to get back on time. And I got back on time, but I was out of gas. I had to stop and get gas, so I lost 1 point at the next check, and I got first lightweight instead of high point.
Wow.
You know what we need to do is at the Fallen Timbers Classic 4, okay, we make it a national hare scramble. We let Paul be the honorary club promoter or whatever, get you that 100.
That's right.
Get you at triple digits. What do you think? Leave us a comment below if you're watching on YouTube. See what you think.
199. We're gonna make it 100.
We're gonna make it 100. Yep. We'll get you 100.
National races, and then hundreds of amateur races throughout the deltas of Side of Life, and hopefully hundreds of more races in our local delta area.
Yes.
Track. It's exciting to have you here and be able to do that. Hopefully we throw just some little specs here and there at you, so that when you do get to sit down and watch the movie, and be able to actually hear all the rest of the stuff. Like I said, material. I mean, we looked up one day when he was at my track. He would sit down there. We sat there and looked at. I mean, just so many articles and things about the races and stuff like that. It's just so cool to have a chance. It's just so neat to have somebody here locally that I've been out west, and we were talking. I live in I live in Ohio. Where do you live? And I said, I live in a little town. He goes, well, where else? He goes, Northern Ohio. I go, oh, you anywhere near Delta? I go, yeah. And he goes, oh, these guys are older guys, Like, oh yeah, did you know that track there in Delta? I go, yeah, I surely do. Yeah. He says, well, I went out there and I raced that, and these guys are in their 60s and 70s, and we raced out there, and Paul had that track out there. Like, well, I actually have met Mr. Schlegel, actually.
Yeah. And he still owns it.
He still owns it, and he's in our neighborhood. He still lives here. So it is. There's a lot of people that do know, around the country still. That, when you mention, hey, I am Delta,
Right.
So if we're talking motorcycles in any groups it's got older guys, they say, where are you from? Ohio. Delta area.
Right.
I say Delta area. Oh, there's a track there.
So
that gets me right in. I say Swanton, they're like, ooh.
Yeah, we're Swanton. No.
But I say Delta, and a lot of these guys, that's been around for so many years and has raced so many different things. So.
Well, we definitely we need the audience to help us because, getting sponsors to help sponsor the movie. We've actually got several great local sponsors that have stepped up to help. But we, talking to the local production company, which by the way, we're using Todd Productions to produce this movie. It does take money to produce, and so, we're hoping the raffle the bike off to raise some funds for that. And because Paul, as you can see, and if you listen to the whole podcast, Paul certainly has done a lot for the sport. I mean, honestly, I could probably say without Paul, the Toledo Trail Riders probably would not exist. You know, I think we tried to emulate what you've done, certainly not to your level, but I mean, your aggressive style, your networking ability, you know, I mean, you're really the mentor for our whole area and a guy that, you know, the whole area loves. So again, visit paulschlegelmovie.com. I got one more question, Paul.
Okay.
Before we wrap up episode 6 here, what of all the things that you've done, amateur, professional, personal life, what is the proudest thing you're accomplished, your accomplishments?
Well, of course, Lorette is right in there. Another one is Lima. Lima, you know, making a good race out of that is important. And well, and starting the motocross thing, you know, in 1970, that was big time too. So it's hard to tell when you get so many different things that are really big events. You know?
Well, here's the problem. He's not done yet.
Yeah, I am. I'm 82.
He's not done because we were talking. He's got you got a project. You're on the board for.
Oh yeah.
He's still working stuff.
Is this the Motorsports Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
You're on the board for that?
Yeah, I'm on the board for the Motorsports
So he's
Hall of
not
Fame.
done yet. He's still out there making things happen, and you know we've been talking about all the things he's done, you know, a long time ago. But he's still there.
You're still involved.
He's still involved.
Yeah,
he still goes to Daytona, right?
Oh yeah, for years I've been on the Motorsports Hall of Fame board.
Yes.
And we really have a nice museum down there. We just got an arrangement with NASCAR. It used to be part of the tour of the Speedway, but now they can sell just tours of the museum down there. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's really a really great museum. And every year we bring a motorcycle rider in on it. So.
And you've got a couple Gold Wings. Are you still riding them?
No, I don't have any. I got rid of my Gold Wings, and I've got a 1300 VTX in Florida that I've got a trike out of, and I got a 750 Shadow up here that I made a trike out of.
Is that the photo you sent? You emailed that I think that to me, the VTX, the black one.
Yeah, the black one.
Yeah. I'll put that up too, just to let the audience.
I was a little bit leery of getting a trike. I when I was a kid, I had a real to do with a Vespa sidecar outfit I took in trade, and I'll tell that story someday. But you probably don't have time.
Yes, we'll get in the film. Yeah, we'll get in the film.
It was something else. But anyway, I'm still riding, so I'm riding about every week. So
one more, I promise. You know, and you know what's funny is because when we prepare most of these podcasts, which by the way, how do you like the studio?
Oh.
We're in a new studio.
Yeah, we're
Great.
not doing so it's getting there.
Yeah.
It's not quite done yet.
It's not 100%. I would.
The girls were clear coating the tabletop there.
They did a good job.
We're getting there.
You got the lift. You got.
Yeah.
There's no Huskies in here.
Well, they're hiding.
They're asleep.
They're hiding. Like I say, they've been feuding with the Honda.
Yeah.
So I had to separate them.
You can't mix that crowd together.
That's right.
It just doesn't work sometimes. But no, definitely leave us a comment below how you like the new studio. We're, moving forward with this and progressing with equipment and stuff. So again, bear with us here as we try to keep improving, the podcast as it goes along. But
shout out to AJ back there.
AJ,
he's been putting together our new microphones and our mixers and trying to get everything working. We were coming down close. We were having a little audio problems, but he got it figured out for us here.
He's Mr. Technical, and he's real patient, and he knows what he's doing. So we appreciate that.
You have to be patient if you're playing around with electricity.
Oh my!
Yeah,
Right. Yes.
The guy used to work for a good friend of mine. Yeah, we've probably gone to Indianapolis 500 together since 1966 or something. But he says he never met an electron he could trust.
That's true.
That is true. I like that. Who's the fastest racer you've seen at Delta?
Hannah.
Hannah?
Yeah, I mean Hannah was fast. You know, Carmichael is, you know, they call him the greatest of all time. But I'll tell you what, Hannah was, he was just indomitable or something. I mean, I saw Hannah at the Silverdome. He was laying out. He had a hold of the handlebars. His whole body was higher than the seat, and he saved. He got back on, you know, in the air and went on to ride. He is tough. Mm-hmm. He really was.
I loved watching him on the Motocross Files. Did you ever watch him on that show?
Yeah.
Just his brashness.
Yeah, his attitude.
I mean, you know, because I remember him talking about Carmichael, and he said, well, I wouldn't let him push me around and all this kind of, you know, he wouldn't be beating me and all. I'm like, woo, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess that makes him him.
Yeah.
And but
we always, you know, growing up, I was a little bit later than, you know, I mean, I watched him, you know, race and stuff, but we were like, Lori and I always favorite was Guy Cooper because he started more getting the air. You know, he was the guy doing all the stuff in the air a little bit, a little more wilder, you know, doing that kind of stuff, you know, where before it was, you know, there wasn't major jumps and getting big air. And he was one of the first guys to get out there and you know, jump into the air and do all that kind of stuff.
I'll tell you another guy that was really a showman that you just wouldn't hardly believe is Mr. Backwards, Roger Riddell.
I've never heard that name.
No.
Mr. Backwards.
Yeah, I'll show you a picture of him over here in one of those programs above it. But he would ride a motorcycle backwards, okay? Sitting on it backwards.
Okay.
Handlebars back here, and he'd jump cars that way.
What?
Really?
Yeah, I have a picture of him jumping cars.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I heard the dogs yelling at us.
Yes.
We're apparently keeping them up, must be. They're next door in the building next door, so apparently we're keeping them up.
Uh-oh. Well, they have a bedtime just like us. But again, Paul, we appreciate you coming out and joining us on episode 6. But as we wrap up the show, Marty and I want to mention our sponsor one last time, Align Phone Systems. Find them at alignvoice.com. That's alignvoice.com for all your business phone system needs. This concludes episode number 6 of the Toledo Track and Trail podcast. We want to again thank you, Paul Schlegel, for joining us and our audience for tuning in as well. Again, if you're watching on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, and give us a comment below. Questions, concerns, comments, show ideas, please send us an email at ToledoTrackandTrail@gmail.com. That's ToledoTrackandTrail@gmail.com. Coming up next on episode number 7, Mr. Tony Stroshine from Twisted MX joins Marty and I to talk about his track operation of Twisted MX and how he's kind of give that program a shot in the arm. Until next time, we hope you and your family can get outside, enjoy the sport of motocross and off-road racing and riding. Stay on the track and trail wherever you are and be good stewards of the sport that you love so much. On behalf of my co-host Marty Wheeler, I'm Matt Bucher. We would thank you again for tuning in to the Toledo Track and Trail podcast. Stay safe, everyone.